Welcome to a MainelyDIY.com video. So I'm going to talk about the two different types of rotary cutter blades. And we'll start with the metal blade. That's the one that people are most familiar with. You use this mostly for quilting. I also use them for paper, but the primary function is quilting. So I'm cutting fabric with it. So I'm just going to take a piece, 4 layers of fabric here, and I'm just going to make a simple cut with my rotary blade. And maybe 4 layers was a little bit much, or if I was standing up, I could put more pressure. Perhaps my blade isn't as sharp as it needs to be. I have to replace these every, well, if I was doing a Bargello quilt, definitely every quilt. I might get away with 2 quilts otherwise, but you do have to replace them fairly often because they don't cut as smoothly as you'd like. You know, this one's still perfectly fine for most of the work I do. A rotary cutter blade is very dangerous though, because it's quite sharp. It's a thin razor piece of metal, razor sharp. Even if it doesn't cut well, it's still quite sharp. So it's very dangerous. So you really want to make sure that you've put your cover on your blade, and you want to look for a rotary cutter handle that has a good safety mechanism, and we'll save that for another video. So they're relatively affordable, they're easy to find, you can cut paper with them just fine. I believe paper's already been cut with this one, so I'm going to go ahead and just show you that you can cut. This is cardstock. Cut that just fine. What you don't want to do is swap between paper and fabric back and forth with your metal rotary blade, because paper's notorious for dulling your blade, and that's, you know, so you kind of need to have a separate blade for each. You know, it depends on what your crafting hobbies are, but if you're like me and you want to cut paper, cardstock, and quilt material, I have to have 2 separate metal blades for that to work out for me. And often I'll take the handle and I'll mark one of them for paper, or maybe I'll put a ribbon in the end of the one for fabric, or something, so that I know which one's which. One of the other issues that I have with a metal blade is if you don't take really good care of them, you can end up with rust on them. And all I can figure is that comes from my, you know, spray that I've used on fabric or water, but they will rust. They do need to be taken care of. Next, I have a ceramic blade, and I am a huge fan of ceramic blades. I'm going to put that blade out for you, and I'm going to move it around. It is a little bit translucent, so I can actually kind of see through it. Not 100%, but, you know, I can see the light through it. It's the same principle as a metal one, only it's made out of ceramic, but I can do this with my ceramic blade. And I'm not pushing very hard on it, granted, but I wouldn't even try that with a metal blade. So I feel these have a bigger safety factor in them, so that's one of the things I really like about them. So I'm going to take my same fabric, and I'm going to cut sitting down like I did the first time with the rotary blade. See how that goes. Okay, I had a catch in my ruler, so that wasn't cool, but here it cut off just fine. I'll turn my ruler around and see if I can get a ruler that I haven't messed up. There we go. And so it cut first time sitting down, and if you stand up you can get a little bit more pressure on it and cut right through it first time. Well, you might say, well, that's newer than your metal blade. Well, it isn't. I've used this one for over a year, but I've used it for both fabric and I've used it on cardstock a lot. And I don't swap out the blades. I just go from one to the next, and I have no issues with it. So I really do like that feature. And at first glance, you might think the rotary, the ceramic rotary blade is more expensive than the metal one. But when you consider how much longer it lasts, and that you don't need a separate one for fabric and for paper or cardstock, has a really high value on that. So that's my 2 cents of why I really like the ceramic blades. I am finding that I am really liking the ceramic blade. It's got the safety feature. I can go between fabric and cloth really easy, and when I consider what I need for equivalent, I need 2 metal razor blades to do my crafts. And the length of time this has lasted, I've had this one for over a year, as I say, and haven't had to change the blade on it, so I really like that ceramic blade. Thank you.